What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday live stream. Dylan, just about going to do a water change. Love your channel. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. What's going on, Greg? Nada, Diamond Reefer, Reefing with O. How you doing, buddy?
I am good, Dev. How are you? Long time no speak.
It has been a while, far too long. How you been doing?
I've been good, man. Life is good. Got no complaints. Life is good.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah. How about you? Lots of changes going on.
Life is crazy as always. Yeah, I don't know. Babies reefing, tank slightly neglected. Standard issue.
Anything, well, other than the tank being neglected, but anything change the routine? How are the tanks reacting to the routine in the change in routine?
Well, honestly, keeping my hand out of my tank more is probably beneficial to the tank overall. Now, that being said, because I have been so hardcore over the years with automation, I feel like that made things a lot easy because I can neglect it a little bit and, things just tick along for the most part. I just check my levels and tweak my dosing here and there, but otherwise things are pretty good. So that part's been pretty solid.
All right. Good to hear. So automation can be a good thing. Is that what I'm hearing?
If you have a baby, yes, it can.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of automation, man. All forms of automation.
Yeah, so thanks for the super chat there, Shelly. Much appreciated.
Shelly.
Squid Missiles, Rookie Reefer, reefing with me. Paul, what's going on, guys?
Rookie Reefer. Man, I haven't...
It's been a long time.
I know.
Good old Ricky. I gotta get him on again one day, too. How is the Reefbot lab holding up? Just ordered my second device and can't find people's same videos, but so far it's actually been really good. If anyone is ordering one, if you do use the code ReefDudes, you get $100 off. I should probably have said that in my last video, but pro tip if you're watching. So if you are getting it, I got the nice big vials with it that hold 60 mils instead of the standard 20 mil ones, which is awesome. I guess the only con would be you have to buy a ton of freaking reagent to fill it up the first time, but it's nice that you can go a long time without having to worry about it.
How is the Reefbot lab different from the previous iteration of the Reefbot?
It holds more vials, one. I believe the original one only held 8, and I think this one holds 12. So it does hold more vials. It does have the option for bigger vials, which I'm a huge fan of, and so you can test more things. So instead of the little 20 mil glass vials, I got those bigger, 3 times the size one. So you can schedule it. You can do basically everything all the same. It's been pretty solid. It's been a couple months now, and yeah, it's no complaints yet. It's been doing its job well. There's a couple issues I had with the original one over time, which they fixed all those hardwares with different methods. I guess the biggest one for me on the original one, the actuator, what raised the needle up and down, died on mine, so I had to replace it. This one, they're using stepper motors and lead screws, which is the same thing like on 3D printers use. So they're made to handle a lot of heavy use. So I have no worry about that having issues at all. So I do appreciate a lot of their design improvements. So the only thing I would say, only I guess gripe would be it is fairly big, so you do need some space for it. So
all right,
it's a trade-off.
I saw your video about the different testers, and yeah, okay. I don't think because of space I'm in the market for one, but it was interesting to watch.
I'm a big fan of auto testers now. I think my tank would rarely ever get tested if I didn't have them. So
yeah. I just took the Trident off, but not because I didn't like it. It's because I think the Reef is maturing, put the calcium reactor on, so I don't think I need that much insight into magnesium and calcium. Those I can test once a month and adjust. But auto testers, man. I'm thinking of doing one for a nano. So
yeah.
What
you gotta put on a nano.
I don't know which one yet, but looking for one.
That's fair. Yeah, if you got any auto tester questions, I mean, shoot, I've used a good chunk of them. I have a question for you. What are you using for lights on your tank right now? So are those shades or are they different lights?
Those are shades. So I got them from a guy. I keep trying to do that. I got them from a guy, and I keep asking him. So I bought them, and I keep asking him, hey, are you... So he does them as a side project, are you on Instagram? You want me to shout you out? He's like, no. People just word them out. And he said it so casually. I'm like, okay, if you're on Instagram, let me know. But... yeah, there's a light shade. So sitting where I am now, and I take calls here, it used to be in my eyes. So it's a good way to keep the light in the tank. And my living room was unusable at this time of night because so much blue. But Yeah, I'm using. I have a. I think I was mimicking you a little bit. If I have one G6 Pro, one G6 blue,
Yeah.
and one G5 blue, and they blend really. You can see the difference a little bit, but they blend really well. And I think if I rearrange them, like maybe put the Pro in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
I probably it probably would blend a little better. But yeah, I like this. I
Well,
like it.
when I alternated them, you really couldn't tell. Like if you're really looking, you could, but at a glance, you wouldn't notice.
Yeah, I think if you put the Pro in the middle, because that's a little
Yeah.
and the way I really have to tell is when you're looking at the reflection on the light shade. But
Mm-hmm.
in the tank, you really can't tell that much.
Yeah.
But I think it's fine.
That's fair. I don't know if you watched my last update video or not, but I did make. I've been prototyping light shades for my own tank, so I made mini ones, that just like super low profile ones that match the contour of it, and those have been pretty well. I lowered my lights about an inch, and then I put those on. It made a massive difference of like killing all the light spill.
So as soon as I bought these,
Yeah.
then I learned about the blades. So I think I probably would have considered getting some blades and then using that as sort of a shade. But
Yep.
I will see. I'm interested in getting some blades
Yep.
and just seeing how they blending together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun. I have the blades on the tank beside, not that you can see it, but the tank beside me, and I kind of tilted them at a bit of 45, so they almost act as a bit of a shade slash fillet, and that's a pretty good solution. I am happy with that one.
Yep.
Andy, how are you getting on with your rock flower and nem projects? Are they still going on? I still have them. I haven't really been experimenting much with them. They're just living their happy lives in my tanks right now. I would like to get a bunch again one day. I thought about turning my 2x2 section of my sump into a big rock flower area, but we'll see.
Didn't you have a bunch of them spawn at one point back in the past, like years ago? I think you had gotten them from
Yeah.
Florida, and you had a
Yep.
rock nem tank, and they spawned.
Sure did. Yeah, they spawned multiple times. Actually, had a ton of babies, and
Is
even
that
them.
the same group of nems, or
Yep.
that's a different batch?
Nope, that's the same ones. Because they used to be my Red Sea Nano, and then when I upgraded my tank, basically those got moved around. So there's some in this tank and some in my other tank. So they're split up between my tanks.
So,
Yep.
so you might get to the point where you might have, what do they call them, G2, or you might have rock flower nems. You might have
Oh,
babies of the. I don't know what they call that. Is that G2?
yeah, I know what you mean. I don't think it's G2. It's a different, like F2, I think.
F2.
I don't know what the F stands for, but yes,
That would be
fraternal
interesting.
flowers.
That'd be interesting. Like, if that, I don't know how I would get it, but that'd be
Mhm.
interesting to know that they were spawned in your tank and never, never saw the wild.
I no, I do have some that have spawned in my tank, 100%. There was some babies in there. Actually, I should check on them. But so there, 100% do have some that have grown up in my tank. So that is kind of cool. Yep.
Okay.
A question out in left field. How much water do you think I should use to shift 6 NEMs across the country? I have personally never shipped out myself. But depending on the size of the NEM, I would envision, a decent bag of water just to keep them happy. Basically, the more water you have, the more stability it's going to be. I mean, but then it costs you more for shipping, so it's always that balance.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's true. I have nothing. Yeah, whenever I've bought stuff from Worldwide Corals and they shipped it home, and they use a surprisingly large amount of water, which again probably makes it expensive because,
Wait.
but yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, yeah, shipping water isn't the cheapest thing in the world, but it's going to better survival rate. Things are going to be happier, especially if it's a longer journey. So take that and do what you will with it. Jason, what's your view on pineapple sponges? They are harmless little white sponges that are filter feeders. New tanks seem to have like a mini exposure to them at some point, and then they seem to reduce back a bit. I see that a lot, actually. But yeah, I don't know. They're harmless. They're filter feeders. Clean your water a little bit for you.
Is it because maybe you have silica or something early on in the tank? Why I usually see them early on in the process?
I believe silica does feed sponges, so likely plays into it.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think about pineapple sponges? Are they your friends?
I don't get a lot of sponge growth. I don't. When I
Yeah.
went to California, I was surprised. When I went to California, Greg Carroll has a ridiculous amount of sponge growth. He
Yeah.
turned his Abyss pump down or turned it off for a minute, and when he turned it on, I guess there were sponges in the pipe or sponges somewhere. There was a ridiculous release amount of sponges But I don't know if it's just the way I reef. I don't get a lot of sponge growth.
Mm,
Greg does a
yeah,
ridiculous amount of sponge. Whatever he's doing, he gets, um,
tons.
yeah, tons.
Yeah, it's probably just whatever's in the water feeding them. Like again, like if you have higher silicates, that aids in sponges. And I know one of the I have a little bottle somewhere. I think it's called Sponge Excel, and that's literally silicates. And I've used that to when I had dino and chrysophytes to try and outcompete some of that. So I was actually dosing silicates to my tank.
We have, I've heard, we have pretty good water here in New York, so maybe
Yeah,
it's low in that stuff. So maybe that's why we don't. And then when you run it through an RODI, it doesn't have anything extra. So maybe that's why. Maybe it's just me.
yeah, I don't know. Could be. Yeah, so I got that pizza water out in New York. Um, Opinions on algae turf scrubbers. Go first. What's your thoughts for Island Reef?
I, oof. Uh, but- who- I, Dev, prefer a refugium because I feel like it's less maintenance. So if you're asking me,
Yeah.
which one do I prefer? Well, he didn't ask that, but I always prefer a refugium.
Mm-hmm.
The last round of algae scrubbers that I saw from Clearwater scrubbers are really intriguing because it looks like over time he's iterated them to be less maintenance. Like I saw the last one I saw where it's just you put your fingers and your little screen that you raise up and essentially you take it to the it's like cleaning the skimmer. You take a little screen up, you take it to the bathroom or your garbage,
Yeah.
you scrape some algae. So they are getting better. Um, I'm intrigued. I don't know when I'll try one, but I keep
Mm-hmm.
getting intrigued by. At first, they were you had to plumb them a certain way. You had to plumb them over your tank. They were possibly could leak, but now they're getting really better. I'm impressed by how easier, less bulky, and just how easier. I think now you have them where you can stand them in the tank and just connect the pump, so you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to connect them to any plumbing. So, I'm I haven't bitten the bullet yet,
Yeah.
but I am becoming a fan.
So okay. Um, my thoughts on turf scrubbers. They definitely do work well, but yes, they're a little more maintenance because you got to clean them every 2 weeks or so on average. 7 to 10 days, 7 to 14 days roughly. Is you got to take out your screen and scrape it off. They do pull out lots of stuff. They do grow well. They basically grow hair algae, which is a simple algae, so it grows faster than say something like chaeto or chaetomorpha, however you want to say it. So they do work well, but they're more maintenance. Where if you take something like chaetomorpha, it you can basically just let it grow and grow and grow and grow and be super lazy to ignore it. So if you want to be super lazy, then go for just good old standard issue refugium. If you want, more high efficiency. Oh, the other big thing too with the turf scrubber is, a lot of them will have covers and you contain the light. So you don't, it keeps your sump cleaner, right? So you're not gonna have any light spill. It's all contained, which is kind of nice. So it's a trade off for sure on that one.
Okay.
Yep.
What scrubber do you have now?
I'm not using one at the moment, but I have the Clearwater scrubber, which I used for quite a while on my previous tank. I just haven't put on the newer tank. Their new design looks way sleeker though. If I do put one on, I might try and get the newer one.
Yeah,
It's,
I
it's,
did
a,
see, again.
it's a lot sleeker. It looks
I've
good.
seen it. Yeah, seen it at the shows. It looks a lot sleeker.
Yeah. Okay, Island Reef. Haven't had any luck with my refugium getting growth. Not sure why I have nitrous and phosphates. You are probably lacking iron and molybdenum, likely. So get something like Chaeto Grow, or there you go. Look at that. You're ready for it. If you're missing some of those macro elements, you will stunt the growth of your algae. So I would try dosing Chaeto Grow or a similar product first and see how that goes.
I
Because I
got a
bet you,
clue. I got a
yeah,
clue of that, Dev, when I first bought the Pax Bellum, and it came with molybdenum nitrate and a few
yep,
other things. And this always happens to me with when not necessarily with a refugium, but with a Chaeto reactor, where for the first few months you get this intense algae growth, and then it just turns to
yep,
slime there. And I think it's because you probably use up because it's such an intense light contained,
mm-hmm,
like a Pax Bellum is such an intense light contained, you probably use up like all the excess,
yep,
nitrate or whatever is in it. Iron is a big one, molybdenum,
yep,
and you don't get anywhere if you don't dose extra. So I go through this pretty much a lot,
yeah,
especially if you have the more intense light you have, You
The more
really
you
have
can
to
get.
use something. Yeah, food. I don't think food enough. Feeding
Mhm.
heavy and have nitrates and phosphates, if you have an intense refugium, I don't think it's enough.
Either way, you're eventually going to run into stunted growth if you're not dosing iron for sure. Molybdenum, I don't know, but it's always in those mixes, so it has to play to a certain extent. But for sure, iron.
And I think your
Molybdenum.
corals also use some of those
Yeah.
elements too, so you're also starving the corals of some of those. So I'm not
Mhm.
sure which is which. I like this as a contained
Yep.
product. It gives you like a dose. I been using this for years, so I kind of know when to dose more. I don't think there's a science. I kind of eyeball it to look at the color of my Chaeto. So,
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
I'm a big fan of that.
But yeah, so hands down, if your growth is stunted, guaranteed that's like 90% the cause of it. I've seen it so many times, and I've experienced it myself, where it's amazing growth, and then just for a few months, and then just stops. So
One other thing I want to bring in, and this used to happen. Right now, I'm using a prime freshwater because I like to see green algae.
yep.
Um, if you get algae and someone was growing it under like really like let's say someone was growing it under a CFL bulb and you
Mm-hmm.
take it or you put it like algae can be shocked of light or you can bleach it if you're not careful. So I think sometimes it's best to know like where the algae is coming from. When
Mm-hmm.
I've had Chaeto for a while, I can eyeball it and see the color and know when something's off. But if you've gotten Chaeto from someone who grew it under a bulb and then you put it in a Chaeto reactor where it's getting intense light, I think sometimes that's my gut feeling that you can shock it. So
Yep.
I've seen it happen before where you get Chaeto and you put it in, and I had high nutrients and it just went to nothing within a week. So
Yep.
I think that could be part of it.
Yeah. No, definitely can. And too, like if you get Shado from someone that uses crazy bright lights, or I mean very weak lights, and you put on crazy bright lights, I mean you could bleach it out. Like sometimes you need to slowly acclimate and get used to your more intense lighting. Do do Nida. Sometimes nitrates is getting high. Don't know the reason. What are the most common causes? High nitrates and phosphates. I mean, both of those can be, too many fish in your tank. It could be feeding too much. It could be, you're just not. If you're running GFO, for instance, it might suck out your phosphates, but it doesn't affect your nitrates. So nitrates are generally dealt with through bacteria in your tank, and if you don't have enough media or surface area, or it's not established enough, that again can slow it down. So there really is a lot of different things that can affect nitrates rising.
Greg and I were having over the last couple of months. Greg and I have been having Greg Carroll, G Carroll 1969 in the chat. Been
Yep.
having some interesting conversations about just nitrates and phosphates, and we've just come up with some things. Sometimes people just don't do big enough water changes. So if you have, I'm just going to throw out 100-gallon tank, and you're only doing like 10% water changes once a month. I don't think, or if you have high nitrates and you're only doing 10% water changes, 90% of what's there is there. And by the
Mm-hmm.
time you're ready to do another one, it's probably already built up to the fact, to the old level. So I think maybe not enough water changes. Also, flow. If you don't have enough flow, maybe the nutrients that need to get into your filtration aren't getting there. Let's say you have a 4-foot tank and your power heads aren't strong enough where you're just like you're shooting water guns,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that sometimes there's no way to quantify that, but I think if you don't have enough flow to get whatever dissolved organics into your filtration, or I think there's something there that I'm not sure that someone who's more scientific can get to the bottom of that. But I think that might be part of sometimes why um, people end up with higher nutrients and don't realize.
It could be. I mean, flow facilitates that exchange of nutrients with, corals or bacteria on surfaces, right? So that does kind of make sense, actually. So I could see it. AK Reefer, how long do you need to be fallow for ick to die off? I believe it's 76 days for some reason. Something close to that's in my head.
I did 2.5 months when
Yep.
whatever disease I thought I had. So I put a UV on and still did 80 days just to be sure.
Yeah.
So that's when I went to Humblefish Forum. That's what he recommended.
Yep.
I wasn't sure what killed my fish, and when I looked at all the possible diseases, running it for I think 80 days
Hmm.
was the one that would catch
Yeah.
most diseases. So I did 80 days.
Okay. There. Hey, a few days more than 76. You might as well be safe and go for 80.
That's
If you're in
that.
it that long, what's a few more days?
Yeah.
Opinions on how many times a copper band should be fed daily? At least once, but if you're more around, then definitely more. I feed my tank. I have a copper band in both tanks, and it gets a nice, healthy, probably overfeeding of mysis and usually some canalus and other random stuff daily. And then I also put nori in the tanks, but they don't overly go for those. But they do pick at the rocks and other stuff in the tank all day. But
I have
they would appreciate twice a day if you are home.
100% agree. Got an interesting story. So the
Yeah.
last Reefapalooza Chicago a couple years ago, Alex G's had these really everywhere in his tanks, Dev. He has these little feather dusters,
Hmm.
and I asked him for a little bit. I'm like, "Can I get a rock with it?" He gave it to me. I took it home, and I shut my. I never saw an explosion in growth from them. I saw them here and there. So I have a copper band, and the copper band's doing okay. So the other day I was doing my first sump cleaning and I realized I had totally forgotten about these feather dusters that Alex gave me. And I realized they are everywhere, everywhere in the sump. And then I started looking at my display and realized they're everywhere in the display. But then I saw the copper band eat them. So I don't know if that's what's keeping him alive because I don't really see him eating frozen per se. He picks at the rocks all day. So maybe
Hmm.
he's just munching at feather dusters all day and surviving.
Could be.
But I'm not saying go buy feather dusters and feed your copper band. I just thought that was a cool story where my sump is lit. I don't know if they're going to become a pest eventually, but the fact that the copper band is like munching on them, that's good enough for me.
Yep. No, that's hey, that works. Mine are constantly picking at the rocks. Like, where is he? Of course, he's hiding right now because I'm looking. But I have one in each tank. Like, I love copper bands. They're awesome fish. But they do just graze and pick at stuff constantly. But yeah, they do go for mysis, and I would feed that at least once a day.
Do they compete with the tangs and the other ones? Do they compete well for food, or do you have
They
to
do.
feed? Okay.
Mine do. They seem to go and grab food, and they never really seem to have an issue. And I've had them both for a year or two. So
The first copper band I've ever had was the perfect specimen, and he
yeah.
ate. He competed with the tangs for food. That was 6 years ago, and
Hmm.
somehow I felt I gave him away because I thought, hey, I never got another. I never kept another copper band after that for more than 6 months because I just it, I, it it's so hard to keep a copper band and keep him happy. So hopefully the one I have now, I've had him for 3 months,
Yep.
but hopefully, but I'm not giving away any more copper bands.
No, they're awesome fish. I love them.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. I see him. Yeah, he's hanging out. A couple of people in the chat were talking about auto feeders. I have never seen mine really go for pellets. When I throw pellets in the tank, I never see them go for it. They do tend to go for mysis, though. I mean, obviously, Aptasia, a lot of them seem to like that. If you, a lot of the other frozen food seems to work. Like sometimes I do the oyster eggs from Reef Nutrition, like those little balls. Like they seem to go after those. And a lot of the frozen foods they go, but yeah, pellets. I don't think I've ever seen. I'm gonna throw some in. Look right now.
Seaweed and maybe like flake.
I actually never really feed flake. It's been ages. Should try it one day. But let's see.
I'm gonna feed some pellets right now.
Throwing it across the room.
Now I'm gonna initiate it with my handy dandy hydros.
Oh, I'm just throwing pinches across my office. I'm just trying to see if the copper band goes for it at all. I never really noticed him do it, so I don't think he does. They only like their fancy mysis. Blackworms usually, yeah, blackworms. Anything live, those type of things, you're pretty safe to go with. One big tip, I see a lot of people get copper bands. They initially have issues getting them to feed. Mysis is one thing that most of them have always went for me. And another one that is like the backup plan that's not working is manila clams. Like you get the frozen ones from the seafood market. Everyone I've tried it on has went for those. That's always like my backup plan if there's a new one and he's having finicky eating.
So blackworms and bloodworms. I don't. I fed mine bloodworms until I saw him picking at the rocks because I don't think bloodworms like there's hikari bloodworms, but I don't think bloodworms is a freshwater food. Is a saltwater food. I think it's more on the freshwater side. So
I
I'm not a
mean,
big fan of feeding it too much. But
just to play devil's advocate here, so is mysis technically.
oh, it is.
Do you know where PE mysis comes from?
Oh, that lake in Canada somewhere, right?
The lake I can see out my window.
Really?
Yeah, it's local. That's where it comes from.
Huh. Do you go and collect it yourself?
No. But they do take, in the summertime when it's warmer, the mysis come up to the top to kind of feed. So they come up for plankton, whatever they're eating at nighttime. And so the boats go out at nighttime when they're collecting with like the big trolley thing, like big nets, and they collect all the mysis.
Do you ever go out there and like, I'm gonna go scoop?
I don't know.
But you thought about it.
I
That
thought about
makes it
sneaking
so-
on their boat one night just for fun to check it out. Might be a fun video, so that might happen. Maybe in the summertime when it's actually warm out.
Okay, so maybe bloodworms. Maybe we find. You know what? I use it to get my copperband acclimated.
Yep.
So I use it. I just don't. I'll buy 2 packs initially, but I won't buy any beyond that.
Yeah. So like my staple, I usually feed mysis, and then I'll add a little bit of cannabis, a little bit of something else. Like that's kind of my staple. And then like I'll randomly throw pellets in my tank. Then I also have a bunch of the Reef nutrition stuff which will randomly mix in. So I don't know. I like to mix it up, but nori and mysis is my daily staple, and other stuff gets randomly mixed in.
Yeah, no, I would be out there with a net trying to collect. I don't know if that's allowed, but I would
I mean,
try.
who's going to stop you? But I mean, the question is, I don't know how close they are to the surface, right? So the funny story about this is way back in the day, they added the mysis to try and up the, I don't know if it's a salmon or kokanee or whatever, one of the fish populations. But then the mysis ended up started outcompeting eating the plankton, so the fish weren't getting much plankton, so it kind of backfired. And now it's like this whole thing about them harvesting the mysis, which helps the fish, I guess. Plus, then they use it for fish food, so it's kind of funny how that worked out.
Oof, 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 oof.
Yep.
Oh, Greg
Right.
says, just a note from Greg, Hikari mysis is saltwater mysis.
Ah, good to know. Well, PE mysis is freshwater because my fish eat local, so.
Yes, it can
Yeah.
be local.
I,
It's fresh, farm to table, right?
yeah, exactly.
It's literally down the block.
I know. Flash frozen and pop her in the tank. Whether it makes a difference, who knows? I doubt it. But it's all flash frozen and it's basically the same thing. Does nori raise nitrate or phosphates? Sure does. I'm gonna say yes to all. I've never physically tested it, but my gut feeling says yes.
From what I've heard, people say every food raises, like if something is nutritious, then it has some level of phosphates in it. Some more than others, but
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, there is a cool Kalkwasser question there from Percy Adams a little further up. Hello, everyone. I plan to use Kalkwasser. I already
Good choice.
using balling method. Should I stop dosing balling and go for Kalkwasser or only diminish balling? He's targeting a high stable pH tank.
Now, I'm going to say it depends on what demands your tank has, but I would just start replacing your ATO with Kalkwasser, and then you could just lower your balling, right? So if you have a low demand tank, I mean, you might be able to do 100% off Kalkwasser. On my tank, I max out my evaporation with Kalkwasser, plus I have a calcium reactor, plus I have a dosing, because there's a lot of corals in my big tank. So I could never do it with just calc. I don't physically possibly evaporate enough unless I was like dehumidifiers and fans and everything, basically forcing the water in my tank. So you might still end up doing both. So it really depends on your demands. But I would get a Kalkwasser reactor, get something like a Versa that's pushing water through it, and just slowly start upping it, and then eventually you can replace your ATO with it. And that's kind of like your max level that you're going to build the dose of Kalkwasser.
I agree. I have different levels of evaporation in the winter and summer. So whatever I dose, I tend to try to keep it stable throughout the seasons. I don't want to dose more in the summer. So I think I do 2.5 liters. I only do Kalkwasser at night. I have this weird that nobody should follow where I turn off my ATO a couple hours before the night comes. I dose a lot of calc at night where my tank is probably overfilled by a little, not a lot, but a little, and then evaporates throughout the day because the calcium reactor's on the day when my pH is higher. So
I'm actually trying something similar. Quick shout out, dedicated reefer. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. So I've been the last week or two. I've been playing something very similar where I was doing Kalkwasser 24/7, and now recently I decided to just do it at nighttime. So just from like midnight to 12 a.m. type of range. And I'm also been playing with dosing the sodium hydroxide, which again was 24/7, but then I decided to see how that was dosing it just at night as well. So now I'm dosing it just when my pH starts to dip, and instead of 24/7. So I don't know. I'm experimenting still.
I have a timer that it's just called night and day. So when the night is on, the Kalkwasser is dosing, and then when it's day, it turns off the Kalkwasser and goes to the calcium reactor.
Yeah.
So the calcium reactor is on during the day when more consumption is happening.
Yeah.
So I think it keeps it stable-ish.
Want to see something funny? Look at the spikiness of my pH graph since I've been doing...
when you say calcium hydroxide, do you mean...
Look at my graph. Because you can see at nighttime when I dose, it's like spike.
How much are you dosing of calcium hydroxide?
100 mils a day. Wait,
and how... Okay, you just blew my... How are you... Like, that stuff is extremely caustic. Like, fragmented... Is it fragmented? He had to give Greg and I special bottles to store the damn thing in. So, how are you dosing it?
Just with the Versa. Or not the Versa, sorry, the Neptune dose.
With the tube, so you have it running through the tube?
Yeah, so... Okay, so... If disclaimer, if anyone does this, be cautious. The stuff is highly caustic. It is super high pH. Wear gloves, wear glasses, don't spill it.
I think you should go a step further with the warning because Kalkwasser is highly caustic. This is a levels beyond that.
Kalkwasser plus. Extra cautious. Gloves, Walter White style. So I have personally been mixing it at 283 grams per gallon. That is based off Randy Holmes Farley, which would dose at approximately the same ratio. That's where I got that ratio from, as most other alkalinity supplements. However, it has a higher pH. So, like, don't get it on your skin, your eyes, all that stuff bad. But it has a much, much higher pH, which is why it's caustic. So, I'm dosing 100 mils of that at nighttime, just because I want to see how it works for the pH boost. And then that's on top of like 6 liters of calc at nighttime. And then the calcium reactor 24/7. So it's a whole slew of stuff going on here. So I'm experimenting. I'll probably do a video with that eventually, but I want to use it for, I'm probably a month in, but after a couple of months of playing with it, then I'll probably do some more stuff on it. But that's my current thing. But anyways, the moral of my story was it made me laugh. You can see all the spikes in my pH from all my nighttime dosing.
I see it. I want to try. I'm intrigued. Not now, but I'm intrigued. With it. I know it's extremely potent because I went in one day to kill Aptasia on the previous tank. Yeah. And when I was finished and it tested the alk, it was like 12. And I said, what the heck is going on? I didn't realize how much of a big of a boost it added to alkalinity and calcium when you were dosing it. So it is super potent, not in terms of pH, not only in terms of pH, but...
Well, it also depends like what ratio it's mixed at, right? So 283 grams per gallon. Where if I believe when I was mixing up elk, it was more like 400 grams per gallon. So you're using less of it, but that should give you approximately the same, I guess, potency of alkalinity adjustment, roughly. Okay. So that's, so I don't know. Anyways, disclaimer, use caution, wear safety gear, don't spill all that jazz if you are mixing and playing with hydroxides, because they are highly caustic. Okay. And why did my camera just lose signal? All that's no fun.
Second, my kids are burning pizza.
Ah, okay.
Did the Elgato, did your camera shut off?
No. I'm gonna turn it off and on again. Apparently so. Dun dun dun. The funny thing is, it's still on though.
All right, give me one second. Back. I think someone's burning pizza.
Hey, and we're back. My consumption is not that much, so dosing pump will be best. Yeah, so. I personally prefer to do continuous dosing pumps for Kalkwasser, but you can use a dosing pump as well. I mean, use whatever you got, but I prefer to just do a slow constant drip over like a spurt and then another spurt, personally.
Yep. And I think he had a follow-up question where he was like, should he use a dosing pump or a peristaltic pump?
Yeah, so use what you got, but my preference is always parasaltic, just because it's stable and consistent instead of like sporadic. I mean, it'll still work fine. You'll be like my pH graph at night where you see these random spikes of it.
Okay. All right.
Yep. The better question on that one, Jason, how many whale sharks can I fit in a 30-gallon tall? It's how many 30-gallon talls would you need to fit a whale sharks should be the better question.
Are you going to put them back to back, combine them?
I know, right? A big cube, remove all the baffles, a lot of silicone, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
What kind of tubing should I use for my Kimura stepper pump? Running calc through it. I believe they, not neoprene tubing. What do they use? They just use that yellow Pharmamed tubing. I believe in them. At least the Kimura I used to have did. What is the maximum pH you should keep an eye out for if our tanks were starting to dose calc? I would, in my mind, 8.4. If it's less than 8.4, I wouldn't worry about it. What about you? What would be your max?
8.4. I tell everything to turn off at 8.4.
Mm-hmm. It's a happy range.
Yeah, I've never hit it though.
Yeah, exactly. What's the highest? Mine 9.1 consistently. Dang, I've never
Wait, is he
never
talking about
had
the
mine.
calc container or his tank?
I don't know.
That's a bad probe.
Probably. I've never seen a tank over 9 pH, so be interesting.
That things are not alive at 9 pH.
Yeah, it's questionable. Although I've heard, yeah, that's crazy. I've heard like 8.8 is the highest I've heard.
If he's dosing by the pH probe, then maybe, you know?
Yeah.
If you're dripping right next to the pH probe, then that's different.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Where you dose does make a big difference. If you're dosing calc or hydroxides or any of these, it is highly recommended to dose to a high flow area of your tank. So maybe it's in a sump baffle. I put a little tiny 3 power head right there too, so it mixes everything up really well on mine, just because you want it to definitely be mixed in, especially anything that's on the more potent side.
There it goes again.
My camera's buggered. I think it's overheating maybe. Fun.
I have a question for you. So Greg Carroll he has a ton of flow in his sump, not flow through. He actually has power heads and pumps, pushing a lot of water so nothing settles in his sump. Is that something you do?
No, only where I dose to the tank. Where I'm dosing my calc and my sodium hydroxide elk is where I have a power head. So that's the big one.
Yeah. So he has like these giant pumps, like just pushing, nothing settles in the sump. He has power heads pushing everything through, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Huh, my camera's on the fritz.
Uh-oh.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Yep. Apparently I need a new camera soon.
Sorry. What are you using?
I am using an older Sony camera.
A6000?
No, not that fancy. 5100, I think.
Oh.
It's like a strobe light. Here, let me swap to a different camera.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm using a 6100.
Apparently, I might need a better camera.
Oh, put it in the kitchen for me. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Just got pizza.
Nice.
Uh-oh. Is it a takeover?
Dun, dun, dun. Deactivate. Activate. Yeah, it's all you. You got to run the stream now.
All right, man. Come on. Ask the questions, guy. Ask the hard-hitting questions.
You got
Let's
the
see.
man now.
Let's see. Someone said, unheard threat. I just installed my Avast K1 last week because of your video. Works great. I love my Avast K1.
The Avast is good.
Love it, love it, love it. I contacted them and had them build me a custom one that's a little bit shorter, so the calc is more potent when it doses, and I'm loving it. I do have an issue with it though. So when I turn my return pump off, the water covers the nostrils, so sometimes salt water goes in it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna probably have to use a skimmer stand to raise it a little bit. But I love the Avast K1. Love it. Alex G helped me design some fins that you attach to the stirrer to keep the calc like extra agitated. So it was simple, just some acrylic fins that I then zip tied to the main stem. But Works well.
Nice.
Works well. There you go.
Oh no, something's flaky with the camera.
There you go.
It was like $150 used off Facebook. It's lasted me a few years. Might be time for an upgrade one day. Uh, dun, dun, dun. So I did a similar thing. If you want the cheap and dirty way of like upping the Avast K1, take a ton of zip ties, like zap straps or zip ties, and put it all around the base of the shaft. I did 3D print fins and playing different designs, which I got to circle back to and like finish that. But if you want like a quick and easy way, get a bunch of zap straps and put them all around it, and that helps mix it up and make it a little more potent as well.
Okay, see?
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe I will go back to the taller one then, and then...
we already have it. Just use what you got.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I'm going to read... So I have the tall one and the short one. The short one... Yeah, I think I'm going to just put it on a skimmer, on a stand, on a little stand. Maybe make a stand with some egg crate. It's just when you turn the return pump off, it gets to the top
buried?
of the, yeah. Well, just not buried, because
Yeah.
buried would take the motor. It just gets right above where the outlet is.
Ah, okay. Oh, yeah. Let's put a skimmer stand under it, call it a day.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Just get some egg crate.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Top 3D prints that are useful. I made a Trident case that's smaller. That's you've seen that one,
for
haven't
the entire Trident?
Yeah, it's way smaller. You haven't seen that?
No.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Did you make a video on it?
Not specifically. It's been in videos, but it hasn't been like a featured video on it.
You have to send me some photos when the stream is over and you get some time, because that is. So I've popped open a Trident before, and I was amazed by the amount of. Let's just say I thought there was an opportunity to make it much smaller and possibly think about making it stackable at some point in the future if you come out with something else. Which I was surprised. It looks like a spaceship torpedo thing, but there's a lot of waste space in there. Yeah,
so I made like designed and printed a 3D print tray that just sits in front of it, so there's no opening. The bottles are just on a little tray in front, so it's super easy to change them. And then it's just a little tower. Like the tower thing is like a design someone else did, but then I made my own custom tray for it.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's just because I needed to make it fit nicer in my stand. Gotta work with it. What you got?
Man, let me tell you something. I probably would. Okay, you know what? Let's talk.
Okay. What do you got? Yeah, what else have I made that's 3D printed? A lot of stuff I've done is like clips and mounts for things. Lots of, like the older ozone thing I had, I made a little thing to hang outside my sump. I've had, dosing pump holders that hold up between sump baffles. Actually, I'm pretty sure if you go in Thingiverse, I think I changed my account name to ReefDudes, and I'm 90% sure I uploaded the STLs for it, so you should go grab it off there.
I haven't. I'm not a 3D. I don't have a 3D printer, but I buy all the stuff like the Inkbird holder, the Tunsy thing holder. I buy all of those. Not 3D printed though, but where my tank is in the corner, I needed a controller board, and the adaptive Reef ones couldn't fit there because the space is too small, and I have 6 Vortex controllers I needed to mount. So I bought the quarter-inch. I couldn't get half-inch, quarter-inch controller board material. Took it to my LFS. Got to give a shout out to Mike at the Aquarium shop. He glued it together to make half-inch, and then he made me like a really custom, like 8-inch wide controller board with a French pleat, so it's easy to mount and take off. So I wish I could have gotten like an adaptive Reef one. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit in that. What?
You just reminded me.
What?
We're gonna give away one of those today.
What? Wait. Why did you have to say it publicly? Because I could have been the only person to enter.
I'm sorry. Well, not just the standard adaptive Reef controller board.
Dude, I'm about to buy one of those, man.
Well, I'm sorry. I guess maybe you could enter if you're in the chat. I don't know how we're going to give it away.
Okay.
But thanks for the reminding me.
Let me just say thanks, guys. The stream is over.
How often do I clean my Kalkster? Probably, I'm going to say every 6 weeks-ish, I'd say on average. You can enter from the chat. I will allow it. I don't know what we're gonna do though. We're gonna have to come up with some kind of a plan for something good.
Are we gonna do the duck race thingy?
I don't know. What should we do?
I have, man. Right now, first let me wash away the depression that I'm not having it. So
It's okay. There might be more giveaways of these in the future, so you're probably safe. Okay, let me do a
that's
random.
not making me feel better.
You'll have weekly entry. Okay, this might break the chat, so I apologize. But shout out to Adaptive Reef actually, because he agreed to doing some giveaway stuff. So there may be lots of upcoming controller boards. Wheel of Doom.
Guy, do you know him? Can you send him my number? Can I
Maybe.
send him?
Let's just say we're working on some hopefully good collaborations.
I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying, like, I will, just saying. There's a guy in Brooklyn that loves your product.
We'll see what we can do. Don't you worry. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Let's do. I'm gonna hit it like 3 times. So there is currently 124 people. So I got 1 and 124, and apparently I need a new camera. Okay. So. Oh, there's 127 people. Dang it. Okay, 127. So number between 1 and 127. And the first one to get it wins an Adaptive Reef standard controller board. so it's on the stream. So shout out Adaptive Reef, Kyle. Appreciate this, buddy, for supporting this. But so try not to break the chat. I don't know how long. You got to put the number in the chat. And
all
you
right.
got to, and whoever guesses it, it's between 1 and 127. So that's how many people are on the live.
All right. Okay.
Kel Anderson, thank you for the super chat.
Thank you, Kel.
Appreciate it.
Kel, I don't think that made you win, but all right.
Okay, I'm watching. Did you intro? Oh, someone got it. Okay, someone got it. If I can find it. I saw it scroll by.
Wow, that's a bunch of numbers. Oh my
wait,
God.
did they get it? I'm pretty sure I saw it.
If you can Skype me the number, I'll help you look. I'm out.
I copied and pasted the chat into Notepad. I'm searching.
It's still going, so
Okay,
you're
wait.
too bad now. You're too late now.
No, we'll see. I just selected all and pasting in Notepad and searching.
All right, so should I have a cutoff now?
I don't think I actually see it yet.
All right, I put a line. So you want me to? I put a line. So let's go from the line.
Oh,
okay.
I do see it. I just got to make sure. Okay. All right. Stop doing numbers. There's for sure a winner. I just got to make sure that there isn't someone prior that already said it.
All right,
before I
guys.
say the name. Okay. Cut off. No more numbers. This is so hard to look at the chat. Still going. Okay. I'm just doing a second copy paste just to like double check.
The numbers are still going.
I know. Insane, people. Insane. They're still going.
I think someone was just going 1, 2, 3.
Oh, probably. Okay. Doghouse Reefer.
Doghouse Reefer.
So, the Google random number generator gods picked 112.
Ooh.
And Doghouse Reefer looks like the first one that said 112.
Doghouse Reefer.
Dun, dun, dun. That was wild.
They are still putting numbers.
They are.
Alex G says 9.5 weeks of curing before he can fill.
Yeah. All right, Doghouse Reefer, buddy. Congratulations. Don't worry, there will be more of these on future live streams.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. That was fun, though. Kyle, if you're watching this, thank you, buddy. I appreciate sponsoring the giveaway.
Let me make sure. Does Doghouse Reefer make content? I'm not subscribed, so let me go subscribe to Doghouse Reefer. I just subscribed to him. He looks like he has some nice torches. Okay, Doghouse. I found a new channel to watch.
Oh, I'm going to check it out, too. I know. Sorry, buddy. Nice. I just closed the video. I just realized the video might get me in trouble on YouTube, the audio. So yeah, definitely check out his channel. Congratulations. Doghouse Reefer, message me on Facebook or Instagram or somewhere with your information, and we will figure out how to get you a sweet new adaptive reef controller board. Ooh. Yes. So it'll be good. All right, so congratulations. Yeah, that was fun and random. Thanks for reminding me.
It was the chat went nuts when you said we're gonna break the chat. I wasn't quite sure what you meant, but yeah, it started scrolling, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?"
Greg, I said 111. So close, Greg. So close. Mm-hmm. Just a couple of videos. All right, well, now you're gonna have to do a new video on the controller board and show it off once you get it. Show off this a tank tour, controller board installed. Your lucky tank. Yeah. So, in other fun stuff, I was working with Kyle, and we're gonna do a bunch of future giveaways. So I might do see if I can sneak in a weekly one for a while, which I think is gonna be pretty awesome. So I love giveaway stuff. It's fun. Yeah.
What?
Booyah.
Weekly giveaways?
Hopefully for a while.
For a while?
We'll see how many controller boards let's we give away. But so far, for now, yeah.
What? Oh man, Dev, this is about to be like.
It's fun.
How many people you have watching now? Like, you're about to get some... What?
Or no one's going to tell anybody because they don't want to worsen the odds.
Hey, you know what?
Could be counterproductive.
Am I still a moderator? I can start, hey, Dev, if you notice, like, less people commenting next week, you know why. Because I'm going to start hiding people. Just saying. I'm
going to go check the logs. Oh, is silence.
Yeah, like, hey, no. Greg was close. Greg... like people are gonna be hidden.
I know.
David, let's just answer
David,
this question
for extra safety, can I use a smart plug with my ATO? So my ATO is only running for 30 minutes a day. Generally, it's your smart plug will turn it on for a certain period. I mean, technically, yes, you could do that and only let it fill within that window. That would absolutely work. However, I'd probably just let it use as is and add a float valve onto it. But you can add a timer as well for another level
of redundancy.
Yeah. Or or just maybe it turns on an hour every 12 hours. Like if it was hooked up to an RODI unit that was bottomless, then that's actually a really good way to do it. If it's only running for, out of a small bin, that might be overkill. But yeah, would for sure work. Don't give out any ideas. I know, right?
Hey, Rookie Reefer, I'll take the front half of the controller. You can take the back half. Or I take 1 week, you take the other week. We'll figure it out. But yes.
Controller board sharing?
I've got the power.
Oh, that's good. Okay, I got to keep it short today because I have to take care of a sick family. Since I'm the sole one that seems to never get sick and be healthy.
This has almost been an hour, man. This was fun.
I know. It was fun. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Controller board, just saying, Dev, like.
We'll see what we can do, buddy. We'll see what we can do.
All right.
Is KZ Flatworm Stop worth trying to initiate acro growth? I used it for quite a while. I do think it does help with growth and kind of basing out and growing. It is crack for the corals though. Even a couple of people I know that grow and sell coral have said it works, but if you stop, your corals are going to be withdrawals and not be happy and pale out. So when I used it, I only ever used it at a 50% dose. So I don't know if I saw the full benefits, but I did feel like there was a bit of a thing. Then I eventually ran out of it and just never replaced it. But I did go through a few liters of it when I was using it.
Alex is saying he needs to have a Light My Aquarium contest. I'm like, no, Alex, no one's giving away 30 lights. No one is I don't think that's not a thing.
Just put in one of those sun tubes, those solo tubes to your roof. Use the sun.
That's a great idea. Man, we have to, Dev, I know before the stream started, Dev and I were talking about traveling again, but if you come to New York, Andrew Sandler's tank, you have to see. But man, if you're ever in the Midwest, I know Rap is not in Chicago anymore, but if you're ever in the Midwest, you have to check out. Hopefully it's up by then, but you have to check out Alex's tank. This thing is and you scuba. Maybe at that time you can go scuba diving in it at the time.
That'd be awesome.
So, yeah.
It's done, Casey. You're obviously not watching the live. Rewound a bit. Yeah, that would be amazing. Tracy, $10 super chat. Thanks, subscribe. Thank you. Okay, shout out Shelly, Dedicated Reefer, iReef, Kel Anderson, Tracy, Daniel, thank you guys for the super chat. I do much appreciate it. Doghouse Reefer, message me, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, somewhere, one of those places, or the website at my website, reefdudes.com. Take your pick, but send me your name and shipping info and all that jazz, and we'll figure out how to get you your sweet new adaptive reef controller board. Awesome.
Congratulations, man. I'm really happy for you.
So yeah, I don't know. It's been a fun one. I unfortunately do have to keep it short today due to family life. But yeah, that was a fun one today. And yeah, we'll probably do some more giveaways next week because they're fun.
Thank you. My kids made me pizza. I'm about to enjoy pizza, so
enjoy.
I will. Yep. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It was always a fun hanging out with you. I saw someone earlier say, "Where's Brandy?" I think, did you miss that? Someone was
no,
like,
I saw it. Brandy, so, you go for it.
No, I said.
Okay.
We shouldn't do this again without Brandy, but I know Brandy. Brandy just had a baby too, so
she had a baby, and her kid has like ballet or gymnastics or something during live stream time. So that basically sums it up. So we'll lure her back on probably whenever the class session for her kid ends, because it's a big time conflict. Can't steal her away from her kids for the live stream.
I know,
but we'll steal her in the future.
Well,
don't you worry.
On that note, you have to go. So
I do.
We'll talk.
All right, guys. Thanks, you guys. As always, if you enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe.